So in this workbook is definitely some good information for y'all to learn. Mountain Hardwear started in 1993, so just had our 20-year anniversary a little bit ago. There's a few folks who left Sierra Designs and North Face and just want to do things a little bit differently and start their own company and kind of create the best product out there. And they've been doing that for 20 plus years and innovating and bringing new technology. A little scrappy back in the day. They actually set up shop right across the street from our neighbors right here. Put a big Mountain Hardwear panel in the window, and they had a beat-up van, and they would kind of sit outside and throw things at them as everyone got to work, and it was definitely some fun competition, and the competition still goes on today. So kind of cool to have some good partners, Arc'teryx, North Face, and people to be able to battle it out against. So with Mountain Hardwear trying to go out of their way to do the best things possible, it's a really cool thing, but it also makes your job a little bit harder. Page 157 in the workbook is going to have a list of all the proprietary technology that Mountain Hardwear uses. So you guys are used to dealing with a lot of brands that use the same technology, right? They all share Gore-Tex, they all share some other technology. Mountain Hardwear wants to do things differently and wants to do their own technology. We're also going to go out of our way to find the best stuff possible. And if we think Gore's bringing the best product, okay, we'll use a Gore item. But as of now, we think we're finding the best technology out there. So we have this page of technology. So what I want to do is not completely overwhelm you guys, but go through some of this technology so you have this. As you guys know, when you're selling, you usually get one chance with a customer, right, to be able to kind of nail down that story and get that technology. I want to arm you with that information so you're available to be able to do it. So study this page. That'll help you through every single thing in here to be able to go through stuff. So starting with the first technology is something called Cool Q0, which is my little sleeve right here. So Cool Q0 is built into a lot of our technical shirts. It's built into a lot of our hats, and we have these arm coolers. Pretty cool technology, no pun intended, with cool technology. You have these little blue dots on the inside of here. As these blue dots absorb moisture, the more moisture they absorb, it lowers the temperature of the garment. So it is a cooling technology, which is obviously a very relevant thing for Southern California in a very hot climate at times. Really nice thing to have. If you want to speed up the process to cooling this thing down, that's easy. Go toss this thing in the lake. Go put some water on here. You will literally feel this thing cool down. If any of you ever used like Bengay before or something like that, you have that kind of cooling sensation. That's what it feels like. It kind of freaked me out the first time I put this on. I was like, what is going on with my arm here? And it was really a nice thing. So you can imagine a full shirt line with this, or having a hot hat line with this to be able to cool you off.
That's the same as Columbia's, right?
So this is similar to Columbia, so kind of a good point to harp on. Columbia did buy Mountain Hardwear about 6 years ago. And here's kind of how I put things. It's kind of like maybe like being adopted by really wealthy parents. It's a really cool thing for us. We're a lot smaller company than Columbia, and technologies like this would be unobtainable if we weren't owned by a larger company with more money. So they buy this technology and we're able to use it. We share 2 technologies with them, and we also have about 10 or 12 of our own technologies. And again, we do what we think is right for our company, what's going to be the best technology. So this is called Cool Q0 for Mountain Hardwear.
Is it called different than what?
It's a different name. Columbia uses their own name for it. It's similar technology, yeah, but we're going to use it in different garments. We're going to kind of situate ourselves. For the most part, Columbia and Mountain Hardwear are usually in separate avenues anyway. It's usually a separate deal.
Different market.
Different market, yeah. Exactly. Different user group, so it works out.
So yeah, another little nugget on that is that sometimes the visual will look the same, but we might use a different fabric, especially on the jackets where the inside of the jacket looks the same, but our face fabrics and the way that we build the product is quite different. It's unique to us. It's just the visual that sometimes looks similar.
It's just to say like selling a Columbia item and then pushing them up to something that's maybe Mountain Hardwear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but if they look at it, they're going to be like, that's the same thing.
That's exactly the point. So visually it'll look the same in terms of what they first look at, but then you have to bring them outside of, well, here's the feature set, here's a more robust fabric. You know, it might be just a more technical fabric or whatever.
It's one piece of the fabric.
Yeah, it's one piece of it, which is the inside technology perhaps, but then the final product is a combination of other things that you have to kind of walk through, or at least understand to that specific style.
Yeah.
Or one piece of the story is what we call
exactly.
it. And you guys are used to doing this already because you might go sell something that has the same gore in 8 different garments, right? But you're like, well, this one's actually different. So you're already used to doing it, so it's not too big of a transition. So that's going to be Cool Q0. The next thing we talk about in the line is something called DryQ. So like Gore kind of has their blanket Gore, right? Pro Shell, all the different ones. We have DryQ, which is our blanket name for our waterproof breathable technologies. The creme de la creme, and this is one of my favorite technologies in the world, is something called DryQ Elite. How do we know it's DryQ Elite? Because it says it right there on the top. So that's an easy cheat sheet for you guys to have. So DryQ Elite, when we're talking about a hard shell, you guys are looking at a 3-layer hard shell right now. 3 layers is going to be your outer layer, your inner material, then the laminate, all sandwiched together. So a 3-layer jacket's going to be more durable, a lot more robust. Usually it has higher end technology, a lot better abrasion resistance, usually has tape seams, but the price tag is usually a lot higher. 3-layer shells will last a very long time if people take care of them. They're also usually very compact. I think this jacket's coming in at 9 or 10 ounces, so it's super lightweight. So DryQ Elite, let's talk about that. A few variables that make up hard shells. You have waterproof. You guys know what waterproof is. It's measured in millimeters, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 millimeters, a bunch of different designations. I urge you to not go too crazy with customers asking what the millimeter rating is on something. Most of our DryQ Elite items are 40,000 and above. Do I need a 35,000 or 40,000 millimeter waterproof jacket? You're really waterproof with both of them, so I wouldn't really harp on that one, so maybe move on to the next subject. So that's going to be waterproofing. Breathability is MVTR, moisture vapor transpiration rate. So how much moisture moves from the inside of my body out of my jacket. And realistically, that's a super important thing, right? If you're doing a very high endurance activity and you're dry on the outside, but you're sweating so bad, you're not comfortable. And you stop, it becomes cold, it starts snowing, whatever's happening, you're gonna freeze. So moisture vapor transpiration rate is an important subject to talk about. Most laminates, including kind of my friends over there has to be a good amount of relative humidity built up inside of the jacket before it starts to breathe. So you have to basically hit that humidity before the pores open in the laminate, before it breathes. The rough number is about 70% relative humidity.
So it can't be the same temperature in your body and outside?
That's part of it. You also have to build up the moisture. So it won't just start breathing until there's a certain amount of moisture. The best analogy to use, you're filling up a bathtub. The bathtub gets filled up. Eventually it hits the overflow spout. Once it hits the overflow spout, it'll start pouring out. It'll start kind of pouring out, and that's the same idea with the regular laminate. Once it gets really clammy in there, the pores will open up and starts breathing. Now, if you're not moving, okay, maybe it's doable, right? Because it catches up eventually. What if I'm still running? What if I'm still skinning up a mountain? What if I'm still hiking and I keep sweating and keep introducing moisture? My jacket's never going to dry off. I'm never going to get comfortable. So Mountain Hardwear doing what they do was like, we need to reinvent this. This does not make sense. Why are we selling $400 3-layer jackets, expensive pieces of equipment, and not bringing the best technology on the market? So we brought out DryQ Elite a few years ago, and we're adding a third variable to hard shells. So it's waterproof, breathable, and air permeable. So I want you to imprint in your brain, if you remember nothing from this entire clinic, Elite equals air permeability. What air permeability means is most of you remember back in the day with soft shells, why they came out is because people wanted more breathability. The downfall of a soft shell, though, is if it rains. That soft shell bleeds, it gets a lot of wetness to it. Even if there's a laminate, the outer material still gets wet when the DWR wears out. So Elite's air permeability. So this jacket that I'm holding right here, the minute you put this jacket on, instant on breathability. You do not need to build up moisture in this jacket for the pores to open for it to breathe. It's absolutely amazing. So I haven't exactly thrown away all my soft shells, but I don't use soft shells as much anymore. I've gone back to using my hard shell, and I'll run in this, I'll hike in this, I'll do stuff where I'm sweating a lot because the breathability is so good. To add to the breathability, we throw on massive chest zippers on here that have a mesh backer. So again, if you want even more breathability, just open these up and you'll have more breathability. Notice we just have 2 zippers on there. Why? Because this jacket weighs absolutely nothing. The most heavy part of a jacket or sleeping bag is your zipper, so you want to keep that as light as possible. So this is DryQ Elite, air permeable, unbelievable jacket. So if you have ever someone talking about they want their highest end hard shell, the best out there, this is one of them. If they talk about that breathability story, this is something to be able to talk about. So I'll pass this around so you guys can check out this really cool jacket.
Why are the zippers in the front and stay not like down the side?
Pockets.
Okay.
Right, so we make nice long pockets because the idea
So
is
that's kind of a pocket also.
pocket slash vent.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if we added more zippers right here, we're just
Yeah.
adding weight, and then someone's
I
gonna go, oh, we
didn't
want
know
to
it
light
was a
weight.
pocket.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, the really wide zippers too. So the idea is, let's say you're backcountry skiing, your skins can fit there, right? You want to be able to have really big pockets to fit stuff into, and just big venting.
Like
Yeah,
ski
all the way
gloves,
through.
something. Yeah.
And
Exactly,
all the
your
air
ski
is coming
gloves.
into the front.
Right, exactly.
If you have a backpack on, you've got straps pushing this down anyway, so we can't really open those up. So the best ventilation really is in the open part of the jacket.
So you'll see in our technology outline too, we do something called DryQ Core versus DryQ Elite.
Soft.
DryQ Core is going to just be waterproof breathable. It's everything I was just talking about.
Not that here.
It needs that moisture to build up. But for a lot of people, that's fine. If you're walking your dog, you're not sweating too much, right? You're probably fine with that. And let's say even you're downhill skiing. You might sweat on the way down, but you have that whole lift line, that lift ride on the way up to be able to dry out, to be able to cool down. So kind of the take-home point of this is just quantify your customer, right? What are you using this for? What do you expect out of this jacket? You know, when you guys, by explaining this, you're able to kind of tell them what they want. So DryQ Core is going to be your basic waterproof breathable from us. The other DryQ is something that we call DryQ Active. Just looking because I think we don't have this label on here. Here's an example of DryQ Active. So DryQ Active is going to be waterproof breathable, but full stretch. So we're going to bring you a taped, fully waterproof jacket with full stretch. So
Good for running.
great for running or maybe climbing. Where you're having to want a little stretch to it. Abrasion resistance, nice price, just have a little bit more stretch to it. But to bring you a waterproof jacket with that full stretch is an awesome thing to be able to bring to the table.
I think this is the next paradigm in waterproof breathable shells. You know, something like this is light and it's four-way stretch. I mean, you think about the first time you put on a pair of stretch denims or something like that. It's like first go back to wearing regular non-stretch, which you kind of get used to that. And then, like with a hard shell, you're so used to like layering things. If you get a little bit curly layer underneath, like if it's kind of cold, and you start to stretch to max that thing out without stretch. Once you go here, it's hard to go back. I had a prototype of this from last year, and I guarantee I will never have another non-stretch hard shell jacket unless, of course, it's one of the mountaineering styles or something like that. But this, once you go here, it's hard to go back. And there's a full zip pant that goes with it.
Really?
We actually have this for sale at the end of the day. Cool. So another technology we have in there, so you guys, we talked about the 3-layer jackets, right, with the 3 layers on there. I'll talk about 2-layer for a second. I don't have one with me. You guys have all seen a 2-layer jacket, right, where you open it up and you can actually see the laminate. There's usually a hanging mesh liner. Good, better, best story, right? They're fine, because in some regards they're nice, they're quieter. You can scrunch them together, they're a little bit more comfortable, a little bit softer, there's a little bit lower price point. I'll skip those for now, because it ends up usually being a winter item. People do a 2-layer, 2.5-layer jacket. Something like this, which is going to be a little bit more of a rain shell option. So on most 2.5-layer jackets, this inner print on here, all it's really doing, and you guys probably know one of the more popular 2.5-layer jackets on there, I won't mention any names, but that inner print on that jacket, all it's really doing is raising it off the body a little bit, like less than a millimeter, to help with circulation and airflow. So the idea is, hey, we can just push this off a little bit and get a little bit more airflow because this material is not too breathable. Mountain Hardwear, like always, was like, why don't we do something with that half-layer? Why don't we actually make it some type of technology that does something? So this introduces DryQ Evap, which is going to be this grid pattern on the inside of the jacket. Best analogy to use to describe this, let's say we take a Nalgene of water and pour it on black concrete, or we take a Nalgene of water and pour it over a bunch of pebbles, which is going to evaporate quicker. What?
Okay.
No, it's funny. Maybe I'm phrasing the question wrong because it's actually the other answer. You guys aren't the first to say that. It's going to be the pebbles, right? It's a greater surface area. Because it sits on the concrete, it's going to pull up, and maybe it's that thick, it's going to take longer to evaporate. You pour it on a bunch of pebbles, it's going to help to spread out. It's going to be a wider surface area. Does that make sense? So it's going to evaporate quicker. This is a bunch of pebbles, right? So you look on the inside of this jacket, and you have all those little micro grooves and channels in there. So if you start sweating really bad in your back, it's actually going to diffuse through all these channels, greater surface area, evaporates quicker, you're drier, you're more comfortable. So again, Mountain Hardwear just being like, let's do something with this half layer, let's kind of bring some innovation and some technology to it. Waterproof zips, and I'll kind of stop going over that. You guys know what all those other things, I just want to talk about some of the technology.
Yeah, just a reminder, when you see these, you can walk through, even if you've never had a clinic on some of these jackets, you can just walk up to a customer, quantify them, qualify them as a customer, figure out what their end use is. You can walk up to a jacket and say, well, okay, you see this one has, mechanical ventilation, the pit zips, it's got longer front pockets. The pockets look like they're up a little higher, so it's better for a backpack belt, whereas the other ones might be a little lower, more of a dog walking style. You can kind of walk through a general jacket, right? But understanding the technology and quantifying a price point sometimes is the hardest thing we find you guys are asking us. So that's why we're going.
I hope you guys recognize this. Ghost Whisperer jacket. It's won more awards than I can count, so really, really awesome piece. Q shield down on the inside of this, so every our water resistant down. So it makes it really simple. If anyone asks, it's water resistant down. Does that mean I'm going to put my down jacket in and go run around in a torrential downpour? Am I going to jump in a lake? No, that's not why Q Shield down and why water resistant down was invented. Meant to do for body moisture, meant to do for humid areas. The whole way the down works is how much it basically fluffs up. So the more it fluffs up, the more air it can trap in there, and the warmer it stays. So the idea is basically by not having moisture build up, you're keeping that down to be able to fluff open, to be able to keep the higher loft rating on here. So this is an 850 fill down jacket. You'll notice on a lot of these, and you should try this with a lot of our down jackets, and I just opened the wrong pocket. Usually is the right pocket. There's a double zipper on here.
To compress.
Yep, so a little stow pocket. So this whole thing will roll inside out and fit inside of its pocket. This thing's coming in at like, I think around like 8 or 9 ounces for a jacket this lightweight. Unbelievable warmth to weight ratio. I know you guys always get this question, which is so hard. How warm will this keep me? Well, I don't really know your diet and your thermoregulation pattern and things like that. It's going to keep you unbelievably warm for a crazy lightweight jacket. You'll be blown away at how warm this is for how lightweight of a jacket is. There's something to talk about. The denier reading, which has to do with the outer nylon and kind of the thickness of the nylon, it's a 7 by 10 denier. As far as we know, this is the lightest down jacket in the world. One mill in the world is able to produce this nylon, and they're working with us, so it's an honor to be able to present a jacket like this. It is a ripstop nylon, so if this does get snagged, it won't completely kind of go all the way through, but it is somewhat delicate, right? It's a 7 by 10 denier, and you guys kind of know the deal. You can't have something that weighs nothing and is bomb-proof. There's always kind of that compromise between lightweightness and robustness and durability.
Does that one come hoodless? Like just a...
Yep, and a vest.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, men's and women's, hooded, non-hooded, and vest.
Lots of colors, all types of stuff like that. So kind of keep going through. Airsheeting these before, right? That's your traditional laminate that goes inside every single glove that gets produced on market by some people over there, right? So we all know, we've all been wearing a glove at Mammoth or Tahoe on a really wet day, and your DWR wears out. The water leaks through the soft shell of this outer material. The DWR wears off, so the water gets through. The next thing beyond this is going to be your laminate. So your hands and gloves will have out dry, and they'll have Q Shield instead of a DWR. So bone dry.
Not good for blowing your nose.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, right?
It blows right back at you.
Blows right back at you. But if you can get it to absorb it, you can then go rinse your tissue off and reuse it. Depends how you want to do it.
Reusable toilet paper.
Exactly. Oh, did I grab the wrong one? Sorry. So pretty cool technology. I'm not going to say DWRs are going away, but I think you will see this popping up in a few more things. And some of this technology I talk about, I'm sure you're thinking, why isn't this in sleeper bags? Why isn't this in this? I think to be continued as some of this technology pushes further and further, we start to come out with it. So that is the quick and dirty on our technology suite, and thanks for getting through it. It's kind of a lot of stuff, so I just want you to be familiar with it. Now we'll kind of just go through just the fun stuff with some of the gear. So I'll just start with tents, and if you guys are cool, we can just stay here in the shade if that works for you guys. So I have, I don't know, a third of our tents up, so we bring as much as we can. And with the tents and with, I'd say tents and sleeping bags, we'll definitely kind of tell a good, better, best story going all the way through the line. Packs are a little bit different because we do have specific packs made for specific uses. Mountain Hardwear gets people at the top of Everest, right? We've proven ourselves as this really kind of high-end company that world-class mountaineers use. But we don't want to just be that. We want someone who's skiing for the first time to use our gear. We want someone walking their dog to use our gear. We want to kind of share our brand with everyone, depending on what your economic situation is or whatever it is, and we have that product for you. So as I talk through the tents, you guys will be able to kind of figure out what that good, better, best story is with stuff. So let's start with the best one. That's always fun to kind of start at the top of the ladder. Right here, we're looking at the EV2 tent. So this is our single wall tent. We do an EV2 and an EV3 tent. Single wall tents, a lot lighter weight, obviously, than a double wall tent. Uses for this in California, Whitney and Shasta, right? There's not too many places where you need a single wall tent. But definitely a cool piece. This customer most likely knows what they want, right? If someone's coming in to buy a tent like this or something we're talking about, you guys will notice that shiny silver material going through the tent poles. It's Kevlar. You guys all know Kevlar is used for bulletproof vest. So I think it's going to do pretty well holding that pole together and keeping it from moving around too much and not shifting in the wind. It's a no stretch zone. That's the idea, so it doesn't pull apart from the poles, and so your tent stays bomber. You'll also notice on this one, and the Trango, which is our double wall version of the mountaineering tents, a lot of pole sections crossing. The more poles, the more intersections that pole has, the stronger the tent is. So that's how it's going to work. You'll also notice as you look through some of these tents, looks like I have an older version, but we'll look on the trango, really fine details on that. On the trango, when you look on those bottom nylon tabs, you'll notice there's little pink stitching on some of the nylon tabs and there's black stitching on that. Why? Because you're cold and you're freezing, you get to camp late at night and your headlamp's on and you're dehydrated and you're hungry. You want to make things as simple as possible. Where's the red pole go? It goes with the red stitching. Where's the black pole go? It goes with the black stitching. So we're doing our best to make it as easy as possible. Obviously with the double wall one, you get more breathability because you have mesh, right? So you can get better breathability and things flowing down. Obviously that's going to be heavier than a single wall tent. So again, just talk to your customer, ask them what they're doing. Super high elevations, a single wall is okay. But as you guys know, with the single wall, it's completely closed off. So you do have to worry about moisture management. That thing breathes unbelievably well, but it's hard to make it breathe as well as something with mesh, right? They can have airflow. So again, just kind of talk through customers. Moving down the line, we have that tent, which is the light wedge. Been in the line for a long time. On the bottom of the tent, you'll notice that one says light wedge to DP. DP stands for dry pitch, and we have quite a few tents in the line that have DP at the end of them, which is a dry pitch option. All of those tents will come with a ground sheet. So hopefully it makes your life a lot easier when you're selling a tent. You guys have all probably been in this situation. You're selling a tent, the person's like, I want the ground sheet. You're like, hold
Not
on.
included, yeah.
4 hours later, you come out of the back, you're like, I can't find the ground sheet. So frustrating, right? So ours comes with it, it makes it easy. That's the one cool thing. There's a few other cool things I'm going to explain. If you guys want to go out in the sun now, where we can kind of look after that dry pitch is set up with the ground sheet and the rain fly and poles only. We left the body out of that tent. So kind of a nice stuff when we go into the high Sierra come July and it's really dry and you don't have to worry about mosquitoes or bugs. Why don't you just leave the tent body at home? Maybe you can live without it, you don't want that extra weight. So that's one cool thing you can do. The other cool thing we do, like think of this situation, you're rolling into camp, you look up and you're like, oh, it's about to dump, we're about to get soaking wet. Maybe you keep your waterproof pack packed up with your tent body, keep everything safe, and as it's raining, you just throw down the ground sheet, throw up the rain fly, and you jump under. And then you can set the tent up from the inside, because we're a clip tent company, so you get in, get situated, relax, calm down a little bit, maybe grab a beer out of your bottle out of here, take a breather, set your tent up from the inside, and it keeps it dry, so you have that option. The other option is you're in your tent, play rock, paper, scissors, the other guy loses, the other girl loses, you're like, you're making dinner. But I don't want to get out of the tent, you get out of the tent. You can then take the tent and just move it back, right? You can unclip it and just move it back halfway and then just cook on top of your ground sheet, and you have that option there. So a really cool feature to be able to have that, some of those advantages to be able to work through. So the light wedge has dry pitch. The sky ledge, which is over there, also has dry pitch. The sky ledge will be a lighter version of the light wedge and it has double doors. So we're trying to go into good, better, best ladder. Still coming in super lightweight. The tent right there, that's the one person tent, is the Super Mega UL. So it's the Super Mega Ultralight 1. That tent minimum weight, when we talk minimum weight, we're going to talk about rain fly, body, and poles. So we don't include stakes and all that because some people don't bring stakes. So it's going to be those 3 items. Super Mega UL 1, 1 pound 11 ounces, right? So crazy lightweight mesh, beautiful design on that like real silky nylon feel. I don't mind 3 ounces, so I actually take this Super Mega UL 2 because it weighs 2 pound 2 ounces. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that extra room, put my dog in there, put my pack inside for a whopping 3 ounces. They're tight, right? To make something that lightweight, it is snug. That will fit 1 thermarest. The 2 will fit 2 thermarests. So pick your partner carefully when you're using that tent when you guys go out. Moving on down the line, we have the Shifter 2, which is a little bit more of an entry-level tent for us. It's the one sideways, the blue and gray right there. Shifter 2 is coming in about $199. I think we're in like the mid-4 range for weight. So still a really good weight and a really good price point for maybe someone that's like, you know what, I'm just going like a mile or 2 with my family, or I don't need the best tent out there in the world. But hey, we're still giving you a mountain hardware quality at a really good aggressive price point. So good for car camping, good for backpacking, good for general use. Optic series. So I have the Optic 2.5, it's the second from the right, the Optic 6 right here. What I don't have set up is the Optic 3.5. No, there's really no such thing as 2.5 people, but that half could be a dog, that half could be your backpack, that half could be your little kid. Basically what we're trying to explain to people is they're oversized 2 and oversized 3-person tent. Still kind of coming into the 4 to 5 pound range, so still a relatively lightweight bag. And why didn't we think about this years ago? Let's put the doors next to each other and give ourselves a 180-degree view outside of the tent. So you guys can imagine being set up and waking up in the morning, be able to look out and have that massive panoramic view coming all the way out. So a really simple idea and a really cool thing that people like. We have the same version on the Optic 6, we just don't have the other door open to be able to do that. and I'm 6 feet tall and I can stand up in that tent. $399 for like pretty much a second home right there. So a really, really good piece. There's also other tents in the line called the Optic View version, which is everything I just talked about. The View is basically going to have a mesh backer on the screen, so it turns into a 4-season convertible tent, or maybe you just want to trap a little more warmth in, or maybe you just want some privacy. Maybe you're in a campground where you're stacked on top of people. You don't really want your rain fly closed because it's hot, but you're like, it'd be nice to be able to cover up these mesh panels and just have a little bit of privacy so I'm not staring at the person right next to me. So that'll be the kind of quick and dirty on the tent line. If you guys don't mind, you guys cool going in the sun for like 5 minutes so I can show you some of the features on the sleeping bags? Cool. And while you're over here, you guys can see how the dry pitch setup looks on the inside of that tent. So a pretty cool feature to be able to check out how that thing's looking. So same story kind of going through the good, better, best story with tents, or I'm sorry, with sleeping bags, is we're going to start with our alpine bags. This is the Spectra bag right here. There's 4 bags in this lineup. -40 bag, -20 bag, a 0-degree bag, and I have the 20-degree bag. I didn't think we needed the -40 here in Southern California today on this hot day. So these bags, you guys can probably explain this to me because everything's written on there. DryQ Elite. We're giving you the waterproof, breathable, air permeable laminate on an 850 fill or 800 Q shield down sleeping bag. So it's a bivy sack and a sleeping bag all together in one. You guys can notice on the top that there's not much stitch line, so that's where your waterproof breathable is. Beautiful bags. They're definitely up there in price. $800 to $1,200 range. I have a 0-degree bag of this. I've been with Hardwear 8 years as a rep. Worked retail a long time before that. My Ghost 0-degree bag I've had for 14 years. So yeah, it's expensive, but if I do the math, it's well worth it. And guess what? It's still chugging along. So the idea with all this stuff, and I hope we can kind of talk to customers about it, is buy it once and buy it right? Buy the higher end one and use it longer. If you want to buy something junky, I think there's a Walmart down the street, and you can buy something every weekend if you really want a new color or something fancy. So just something to be able to talk to customers about when they get the sticker shock with some of these items. Oh, and if some have to be ripped, so there's a problem, no problem. Send them back to Mountain Hardwear. They're going to fix it or replace it for you. So it's almost a lifetime purchase. So that's going to be your alpine bags. You have your phantom bags, which are sitting right here. Your phantom bags are going to be our 800 Q shield down. Phantom for men. The women always get the nicer name. Fantasia for women. So a little bit sexier for women.
You should have an A to it.
We do a 0-degree bag, a 15, a 32, and a 45. This 45-degree bag, they all come with compression sacks, gets to be about this big.
Damn.
Crazy lightweight. You guys can feel the nylon here. The nylon's a super low dender, super compressible. It's a tuck stitch design. So the idea is basically it's stitched up here, then stitch underneath. So if something so that it basically rips, you have a backup to be able, so this thing doesn't blow up and they have down feathers flying up everywhere. This is more of an alpine person who wants a warm bag with kind of moisture management, because maybe if you're in the single wall tent, you have some moisture buildup, so you want this outer coating. This is going to be the person who's backpacking, who just wants the lightest weight bag possible to be able to backpack with and is really focused on weight. So that's your phantom bag. Moving on down the line, that's your 800 fill bags. Way over here, we're going to have your 650 fill bags. There's still a Q shield down on the 650 fill bags. We're going to have the ratio for men, the per ratio for women. So these bags also, we're going to have a 15 and a 30-degree version of these. Doing something a little bit different. You guys will notice we have these interesting trapezoidal baffling systems on this. Back in the day, a lot of down bags had baffles. When you rolled over, the down would all shift to the bottom of the bag. So you'd be laying there, you're like, my left side's super warm. I can't feel my right side. So the down shifts around. We actually make these designed a certain way so when you roll over, the down can't shift. If you roll on your left side, the down would literally have to crawl uphill, right, to be able to shift in the right direction. So we put these over by the optics because we're coming in with a little bit lower price point than the Phantom. So maybe this user might want to be more middle of the road and doesn't want to spend as much money. Still getting a great Mountain Hardwear bag for a little bit lower price point. The next bags we have are synthetic bags. Does anyone need me to cover down versus synthetic? I think we're all beyond that.
Yeah.
Hopefully at this point, good. Thank you. So with our laminate bags, can someone point out a really cool thing on the top of these bags that is missing?
The hood.
What's that?
The hood.
Yeah, well, that's one thing, but what is not on the top portion of these bags? Stitching. So something interesting to be able to think about with the laminate. Laminate's been out for quite a few years. We have a patent on this. Welded technology in a synthetic bag. So everywhere you guys see these little lines across is actually a welded material where it's going to be a glue and a heat process to hold the synthetic material and hold the baffles in place. What's huge about having stitching? Stitching is areas where moisture can enter. You're going to add weight, you're going to mess with your synthetic material. Stitching also is a place sometimes where you can create cold spots. So the idea is going to be you're warm, you pinch it, you're cold. You're warm, you pinch it, you're going to be cold. We have uniform synthetic material through this entire bag. Best way to describe what this looks like, this synthetic material, we're all familiar with it because we live in California, would be looking like an ocean. Every time that crest comes up on the ocean, we're going to go ahead and laminate the top of that synthetic material. So it's a wave pattern in the synthetic, leaves gaps for air to build up, to be able to build up warmth. It also keeps the synthetic material in place from shifting when you roll over and when you compress it. So uniform warmth all the way through, better night's sleep, you're more comfortable, hopefully you have a better day. It's kind of how it all relates together when you're on a trip. Difference between the lamina and the hyperlamina, this is obviously a much higher degree rating, that's why it's a lot smaller of a bag. Full zipper on the regular laminas for people that like that. The women's version is the laminina. On the hyperlaminas, you go with this middle zipper. Why? Because the zipper is the heaviest part of the bag. So on this bag might be the more backpacking person who's worried about weight. This person might be like, I want to save some dough and I don't care as much about a few ounces. So again, you're able to kind of talk to your customer. Really smart to put the zipper here because besides your head, what's the next part of your body that controls your temperature?
Torso.
Your core, your torso, right? That's why people sell vests. That's why you can get away wearing a vest and a t-shirt because you stay warm in your torso. So that's why we put the zipper here. You have this nice gasket around your neck that's going to keep you warm. It's going to trap all the heat in. But let's say you're too hot. You don't really want to unzip it from the side because then everything flows out. Sweet, we got a double zipper on there. Go ahead and vent there and be able to get a little bit of airflow in there to get that thing better. And also too, you can roll either way and you're not going to have the zipper in the way to be able to feel things. Extra lamina is going to be a little bit wider version of the lamina. And then we do some kind of lower price point entry level ones, again, to be able to introduce that market to mountain hardware. Last subject we'll go over, and we can go over any more details at the end, but I just want to give you guys this overview for now to be able to cover stuff. I brought like, I don't know, 30% of the backpacks we carry in the line. So we do have something for every category. First category behind you is our alpine bags. I brought the Diartissima 50 on the left and the Diartissima 35. We do a 35, a 50, we do a 70 liter, we also do a 105 liter. Do not buy the 105 liter. It's called the BMG, which is the Big Mountain Guide. If you buy 105 liters, that means you have to fill up 105 liters. So unless you're really, really nice friend and want to carry everyone's weight, it's meant for guys like that. Kurt next door is going to be guiding people on the mountain and carrying all the weight. So it's the workhorse. These alpine bags are awesome. There's a lot of features that go into these things. First thing I want to talk about is how they carry. Most people, when they put on a traditional backpacking bag, which we have right there, they're going to expect about 70% of the weight to be on their hips and to be on their legs. And they're used to that, and that works fine if you're on a trail, because you're hiking all day and the weight's going to be on your legs. In an alpine situation, you might not be on the trail, right? You might be on the trail for, let's say, Whitney. You're on the trail for a few miles, and you're going to move off, and you're going to be on a boulder field. You're going to be moving around, you're going to be bending over. You don't want all the weight on your hips because it's going to be kind of weird and awkward. So this one's a little bit more of a 50-50 split, right? 50% of it's going to be on your shoulders, 50% is going to be on your waist. So I just want to kind of classify these and make sure. We had a lot of people sometimes buying these for backpacking. They're like, wait a second, it's not carrying the weight right. You're like, because you bought the wrong thing for the wrong item. So some of the little features on this that are really, really nice to talk about. Nice big compression straps to be able to compress this thing up. You have gear loops on the side here and haul bags to be able to haul this up if you were climbing and you want to turn it into a haul bag. Parachute material in the front, so completely bomb-proof stuff. You can toss it down on some granite.
Doesn't that have Kevlar lining too in it?
This actually, I think it has it lined in a little bit on this one. They use it for, sails for stuff, so it's pretty burly. Gear loops on the side here, adjustable. You can swap out the waist belts if you want. Small, medium, and medium large with different torso lengths and different waist belts on this. Lash points up here, and just really nice alpine features. Your ice axe holders all the way through. So 4 bags in this lineup. We have the Summit Rocket 30, which this bag was specifically designed by Uli Steck, if you guys have heard of Uli Steck before, the Swiss machine they call him, who was always in a rush to get up all these Himalayan peaks. And I'm like, you just gotta relax sometimes and enjoy it. He's already up and down twice. And I'm like, I just went like 10 feet, but good for you, dude. This is his kit for climbing Himalayan peaks. That's the size of the bag he uses, the 30-liter bag. He puts his tent in there, his sleeping bag, layers, food, everything he needs in this pack. So ridiculous on weight. He said, well, what if I pack the bag all the way out? I don't need compression straps. Why do I need compression straps if the bag's filled out? All right, Uli, no problem. We'll make them removable if you want to shave off a few more ounces. So just the attention to detail, guys, as I kind of go through this, I think you're picking up is crazy. It's really, really cool stuff.